Tonight is a special night at the White House. It's Donald and Melania's 20th wedding anniversary. 20 years is a long time, especially for Melania. This morning, Trump paid tribute to his longest-serving wife by reposting this AI image of himself with a lion.
Trump losing his temper over a late-night joke. Classic. Jimmy Kimmel made a light-hearted remark about his marriage, but let's just say it struck a nerve. Now, Trump is fuming like an overheated toaster. Will he shrug it off, launch into a full-blown social media rant? Or will Melania give him that familiar look that says, "Not this again"? Grab your popcorn. This is going to be interesting.
Guessing he noticed a bunch of people posting about his anniversary, which remind him, oh, it's my anniversary. So he then reposted this sweet photo of Melania literally pushing him away from her.
Kimmel knows exactly what he is doing. He has been in the late-night game long enough to understand that making a joke about Trump does not just land. It sparks a media frenzy. So, when he stepped onto that stage, grinning like he had just been handed comedy gold, the audience knew they were in for something big.
Our president kept the crowd very warm at CPAC over the weekend. CPAC, if you're not familiar, is basically what would happen if Judge Jeanine Pirro headlined the Fire Festival. It's a lot of very angry white people. It is the largest gathering of people who believe vaccines are witchcraft in the world. And for 2 hours and 2 minutes, Donald Trump gave what I believe we may look back on as his I Have a Dream speech. This was his longest speech since taking office. He went on and on. You could have left this speech, watched 2 episodes of Game of Thrones, come back, and he would still have been going. And to kick things off, Trump went to one of his signature moves to start it. And I know there's a lot of competition, but I think this might be the dumbest thing he does. Who does that? Donald Trump shows more affection to flags than Eric and Don Jr. have ever gotten in their whole lives.
He started off light, a playful jab here, a teasing remark there. Classic warm-up material, the kind that keeps the crowd engaged without causing too much controversy. But that was not what everyone was waiting for. No, they knew the real punchline was coming. And then, like a perfectly timed knockout, he delivered it.
Has there ever been a worse host than Jimmy Kimmel at the Oscars? His opening was that of a less-than-average person trying too hard to be something which he is not and never can be. Blah, 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 make America great again. Thank you for watching. I'm surprised you're still... Isn't it past your jail time?
Of course, in any audience, there are always a few people who suddenly forget they willingly bought tickets to a comedy show. They sit there, stiff as statues, refusing to react, almost as if laughing might land them on some kind of secret government watch list. Meanwhile, the rest of the crowd is in complete chaos, wiping away tears, clapping, and gasping for air.
According to reports from multiple news outlets, his former sister-in-law alleges that Hegseth's wife was terrified he would abuse her to the point where she and her sister had a code to text each other if her husband became violent, and she feared for her safety.
But this is where things get even better. See, Kimmel does not just drop a joke and move on, oh no, he takes it further. He breaks it down, stretching it out, making it either funnier or even more uncomfortable, depending on your perspective. He leans into the joke, dissecting it piece by piece, dragging out the laughter until some people in the audience are just a couple of chuckles away from needing medical attention. And then, there are the cameras, because let's be honest, whenever a comedian roasts Trump, there is always that moment when the cameras start searching.
I was going to make stuff up about him. I'd start telling people he wears diapers. I would explain that it's a long trial. He drinks a lot of Diet Cokes to stay awake. He's getting up there in years, and it's perfectly normal for a man of Trump's age and carriage to wear absorbent undergarments to stop the leaks. So, I mean, if I was making stuff up, that I would point out that the reason he stands like this and golfs like this and plays tennis like this is because he has a full diaper strapped around his little mushroom garden. Okay?
They scan the crowd, looking for reaction shots that are bound to go viral. Who is laughing just a little too hard? Who is trying to act like they did not just laugh? Who is nervously checking their phone to see if their Republican uncle has already sent a disapproving message? It is all part of the spectacle. And somewhere, in a dimly lit room, Diet Coke in hand, Trump might already be watching. Maybe an aide texted him, warning that Twitter, Truth Social, was about to explode. Either way, one thing was certain, Kimmel had just ensured that Trump would spend the next 24 hours crafting the perfect angry response.
Jimmy Fallon asks me if he could do one thing. Could he play with my hair?
Can I mess your hair up?
I want to see if it's real. So he didn't just play. He puts his hand in my hair, and the audience went wild, and they loved it. 6 months later, he stood up, and he said, "I'd like to apologize for doing that." He lost his whole audience when he did.
Would it be an all-caps meltdown? A rambling post about fake news and late-night losers? Or perhaps a brand new conspiracy theory claiming Jimmy Kimmel is part of a deep state plot against him? No one knew just yet, but one thing was certain. This joke had just lit the fuse, and the explosion was inevitable. Trump and late-night comedians go together like gasoline and fire, except in this case, the flames never die down. If there is one thing the late-night circuit can always count on, it is that taking a jab at Trump guarantees headlines, viral clips, and an army of social media warriors ready to battle it out in the comment sections. But this feud did not begin with his presidency. Trump has been a favorite late-night target for decades. Back in the 80s and 90s, he was the flashy real estate mogul with golden towers and an even bigger ego, a walking, talking caricature before he even had political ambitions. Comedians loved making fun of him then, too, though the jokes focused more on his extravagant wealth, bizarre media appearances, and, of course, his hair.
Usually when Donald Trump gets a spanking like this from a woman, it's with a Forbes magazine. Kamala was pushing his buttons like a 12-year-old playing Fortnite. This was a much better debate than the last debate. This is like the Lion King when Simba came back to avenge Mufasa. Trump's advisors, before the debate, they urged him to be happy Trump instead of mean bully Trump, and to please focus on the issues. Of course, he didn't listen to any of that at all. But who are we kidding? This election isn't about the issues. I mean, Dick Cheney isn't voting for Kamala Harris because he agrees with her on the issues. He's voting for her because there's a rhinoceros charging, and she has the tranquilizer.
Then came the Apprentice era, and Trump fully embraced his persona as the no-nonsense boss who fired people like it was a sport. Late-night hosts had a field day. Conan O'Brien, David Letterman, and Jay Leno took their shots, mocking everything from his signature catchphrase to his obsession with slapping his name on everything. But back then, Trump played along. He enjoyed the attention, even appearing on these shows, laughing with the hosts as they made fun of him. At the time, it was all part of his brand. Then came 2016, the moment Trump stepped out of reality TV and into actual reality. Late-night comedy took on a whole new purpose. This was no longer about teasing an eccentric billionaire. This was war. Stephen Colbert, who had spent years mastering satire on The Colbert Report, sharpened his attacks. Seth Meyers, who had already roasted Trump at the 2011 White House Correspondents' Dinner, turned his late-night monologues into a nightly Trump takedown. Jimmy Kimmel, who had mostly stuck to light-hearted humor, suddenly found himself at the center of the political storm, using his platform to call out Trump's policies, statements, and, of course, his infamous Twitter rants.
Jimmy Fallon asks me if he could do one thing. Could he play with my hair?
Can I mess your hair up?
I want to see if it's real. So he didn't just play. He puts his hand in my hair, and the audience went wild, and they loved it. 6 months later, he stood up, and he said, "I'd like to apologize for doing that." He lost his whole audience when he did.
For years, Trump and Melania's relationship has been one of the internet's favorite mysteries, right up there with what is hidden in Area 51 and who keeps buying Nickelback albums. From the outside, their marriage often appears less like a love story and more like a long-term business agreement, complete with an unspoken no hand-holding policy. And let's be honest, late-night hosts, especially Jimmy Kimmel, have never missed an opportunity to highlight every awkward moment. Kimmel's joke was not just funny. It was a precision strike at an ongoing pop culture fascination. The audience's reaction said it all. Laughter, gasps, and that unmistakable, "Oh, he really went there" energy. After all, people have been analyzing and making memes about the Trump marriage saga for years. Every small interaction between them is scrutinized like a high-stakes poker game, with the internet eager to decode every glance, gesture, and forced smile.
Hey, speaking of prisoners, this should be an interesting Valentine's Day at the White House. For instance, will Donald Trump get flowers from Vladimir Putin? We don't know. And what about his wife, Melania? Will they spend the night together, or will she remain trapped like Rapunzel at their apartment in New York? You know, Melania Trump has a new line of greeting cards. They carry these now at CVS. They're interesting, actually. I've not seen any. Happy Valentine's Day. Open out saving.
Remember the infamous hand sweat incident? It was 2017. Trump and Melania were walking down a tarmac in Israel when Trump reached for her hand, only for Melania to sweat it away like someone rejecting a crumpled dollar bill from a stranger. That split-second moment became an instant meme. Analysts, both real and self-proclaimed Twitter experts, debated whether it was accidental or the most passive-aggressive rejection ever caught on camera. Then there was the icy stare, that chilling moment from Trump's inauguration when Melania's forced smile vanished the second he turned away, as if it were a scene from a Jordan Peele horror film. That clip resurfaces whenever someone wants to revive the "Is Melania trapped?" conspiracy theories. Combine those with robotic photo ops, awkward public moments, and Melania's less than enthusiastic demeanor when standing beside Trump, and you have the perfect comedic setup. Kimmel knew exactly what he was doing with his joke, tapping into a running gag that practically writes itself. And the internet? The internet devoured it. Within minutes, Twitter was flooded with reactions. The hand swat clip made a comeback. Theories ranged from she is secretly planning her escape to she is just here for the inheritance. TikTok got involved, remixing Kimmel's joke with dramatic music and over-the-top reenactments. Even Instagram meme pages dusted off their best free Melania content and gave it a fresh twist. Of course, Trump's supporters were not laughing. They quickly defended the marriage, dismissing Kimmel's joke as yet another cheap shot from Hollywood elites. Some even insisted Trump and Melania's relationship was perfectly normal. After all, who does not look like they would rather be anywhere else when standing next to their spouse?
I want to also thank my beautiful wife, Melania.
Love him or hate him, one thing is undeniable: Trump's marriage has provided some of the most unintentionally entertaining moments in political history. And as long as comedians like Kimmel exist, those moments will never be forgotten. And just like clockwork, Trump did what he does best, reacted with the force of 1,000 exclamation points. Did he go full all-caps mode on Truth Social? Of course. Did he call Kimmel a third-rate hack and blame the failing late-night industry? Absolutely. But the real kicker? In his attempt to dismiss the joke, he somehow made it even worse. Maybe he wanted to downplay it, but instead, he ranted so much that he turned a single punchline into a multi-day news cycle. Classic Trump, turning a late-night joke into a full-blown headline while insisting he does not care.